Should we start making our product?
Yeah, let's make a product.
Craft our podcast.
Hmm?
Our artisanal home crafted podcast.
Yeah.
Do you know artisanal can also be pronounced as art is anal.
Oh, okay. Artisanal. It is.
I wasn't making that. I was just asking questions. I wasn't making that comment.
Oh.
But if you think it is, that's for you to say.
Art is anal. Well, I am pretty anal about my art.
Two friends just made a podcast. Two good friends just made a podcast. Two friends just made a podcast. It's called Culture Bucket. Two friends just made a podcast. Two good friends just made a podcast. Two friends just made a podcast. Culture Bucket, Georgia and Alex.
Hi everyone, welcome to the 64th episode of Culture Bucket, the world's greatest podcast, the universe's greatest podcast. Officially recognised, the award has gone to Culture Bucket, and it's a joint award. It's being accepted by George, that's me, and my co-host Alex, who's with me as well. Hi Alex.
Hi, George. Hi, everyone.
Hi. Would you like to thank anyone for this award?
I would like to thank you for encouraging me and following my dreams.
Good.
Don't put me on a spot. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I could ever win an award. I'd be the most awkward. I think on the vein of Olivia Colman. Have you ever seen her accept an award?
Yeah.
She's so everywhere.
That's true. Yeah.
Who'd you thank? Would you thank your family?
No one.
No.
No, I did it all myself, so they can swivel.
What is this? You're like being all braggadocious. They can swivel.
Yeah, they can absolutely swivel. I got here powered by my own steam. Thank you very much. No, that's not. Obviously, I'd thank everyone I've ever met or seen or been there. Right, so why are we talking about thanking people? Because it's Oscar season. Everyone has gone absolutely mad with Oscar fever. That's not true. Nobody cares about the Oscars anymore. But it's a good opportunity to talk about films and just talk about what we like doing, which is talking about movies. So we're going to be doing our top 5 best picture winners at the Oscars.
Yeah.
Today, which is pretty cool and exciting. But before that, we've got Culture Catch-Up, we've got MyTube, we've got homework to discuss, and then we've got top 5 to go through, and then recommendations as well at the end, so please do stick around for that. Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
Shall we get going?
Yeah, man.
Okay, good.
What
Right,
have you
let's get
been
into it
doing this lovely beginning of March week?
In this lovely beginning of March week, I've been watching some TV and been to the cinema twice, so let's discuss it.
I don't know why I find it that funny. Yeah, let's discuss it.
First of all, I finally started watching what is now the second biggest ever TV show on HBO, Euphoria.
Yeah, I've just finished the second season.
Nice. That's funny.
Why?
I know. I just googled Euphoria to find the page about it on Wikipedia, and Google does that people also ask thing.
Yeah.
And the top thing that people ask about Euphoria is, did Netflix remove Euphoria? No, it's not.
It's
Netflix
never been
show.
on Netflix.
That just made me laugh because I like to imagine, because people just assume everything's on Netflix, don't they? So they'll go and look it up and be like, oh, they must have taken it down. Why would they take such a popular show down? This is a teen drama show. Alex has talked about it before. It's created by Sam Levinson, son of Barry Levinson.
Who's Barry Levinson?
Barry Levinson's a film director. He made films such as Diner, Good Morning Vietnam was him. Rain Man. He won Best Director Oscar for Rain Man, which is relevant today because, of course,
I didn't realise they were related. I didn't even think about it. Wow.
Absolutely, they are. created by Sam Levinson, starring, of course, Zendaya, everybody's favourite.
Yeah.
And most perfect of all actors. Along with a variety of other actors such as Maud Apatow, Angus Cloud, Eric Dane, Alexa Demi, Jacob Elordi, Barbie Ferreira, and Sydney Sweeney, who we've talked about in detail in the White Lotus episode.
White Lotus, yeah.
And Hunter Schafer, who is probably the best actor in the show, in my opinion.
Yeah.
As Jules. But the show is very much centred around Zendaya's Rue, which I find confusing because there was a major character in the Hunger Games called Rue, and I don't know why it confuses me that two characters have the same name, but it does. I always think of the Hunger Games when anyone mentions her name. I don't know what to say about it that you haven't already said, other than I've got one episode of the first season left to watch, and then there's 2 specials, and then the second season.
Yeah.
So I will report back when I've watched the whole thing. But currently, I think it's okay. But I've heard the second season is better, and you were more convinced by the second season, weren't you?
Yeah, I was definitely more convinced by the second season. I'm not convinced by the last episode in the second season.
I've seen a lot of people say that.
I guess because something happens I really don't want to happen, but also it's very repetitive. So
yeah,
I'm not convinced but there's going to be another season, so it's been renewed for a third season. But I don't know, because they're growing up very fast, these kids, because these actors, because it started in 2020, I think, or when was the first season out? In
2019.
Yeah, so the first season came out in 2019, and then there was the global pandemic hit, and then they all grew up. So they're kind of like a little bit older now. And then because it takes so long to film each episode, because, you know, he's really meticulous about how he films, and you'll see more in that in the second season. Like, it's not going to come out until 2024, and they're going to be like closer to 30. And so I'm not sure if they're bringing new characters or they're going to college. I don't know how he's going to set that up, but, you know, yeah. But,
I guess it depends on what he chooses the focus for it to be. Because, does it have to be that they're teenagers? Does it work if they're adults? I think it can.
Yeah, it can work if they're adults, but in the States, they tend to all go to different parts of the country for university. So unless they stay there for another year, they're going to be very separate. So I guess that's the thing. I don't know. But they're not really friends, are they? All of them. They're kind of dislike each other quite a bit. So maybe it's a good idea that they all like branch out into the world.
Yeah, I could see them doing a season that follows like 3 of the characters at different universities or something like that.
Yeah.
Could be interesting. It likes to, I don't know. It likes to wallow in misery a lot.
Yes. The second season, there's a little bit more laughter. There's a lot of tragedy. There's more range in the second season. It's not as dark and horrendous as the first season.
Yeah.
But still, it's very, like, dark. You know, there's not much, laughter.
No, but it's very well made. There's definitely, like, there's one episode in particular where I was like, because I read something where, or you might have told me that he considers each episode to be a self-contained film. Rubbish, nonsense, not true.
No, in the
Absolute
second
pretentious
series,
idiocy.
not in the first
Well,
one.
maybe. In the first series, that's not true.
Yeah, no.
But the episode where they go to the fair is filmed in a very sort of almost auteur way. Feels like a kind of the camera has a voice of its own in that episode in a way that maybe in the early episodes it didn't, which was interesting to see. Like there's lots of scenes of them walking through the fair, and the camera's shooting the characters from below, and you're seeing these fireworks exploding behind their head as they're kind of looking around and looking for different characters and stuff, and it creates quite a frantic energy in the scenes. And I've enjoyed it, but it's not perfect yet. But I'm interested to see what season 2 brings, because it's it's well made, and the acting in it is very good, particularly Zendaya, particularly Hunter Schafer, and maybe just because I really liked her in The White Lotus, but Sydney Sweeney as well. I've really enjoyed in it.
Yeah, Sydney Sweeney is like going to be even more chaotic in the second season, and so she's gonna show some kind of really good range. And I've read that she really enjoyed being kind of a little bit unhinged in the second season.
Okay,
because she's really unhinged.
Interesting. All right, I like it.
But I think Euphoria is definitely made by the actors. I think they're really good, and the second season is really pretty to look at. It was shot in like film, Kodak something film.
Right, rather than, so it wasn't shot on digital, it was shot on actual film.
Yeah, so it's really pretty to look at. So even if it's like there's a moment where it's been repeated for 65 times, it's quite nice to look at the film, at the screen. Yeah.
Fair enough. So yeah, that's Euphoria, and I will report back when I watch it again. Next up, I went to cinema to see a film we've talked about a couple of times, and watched the trailer for together and stuff. Studio 666.
Yeah.
The horror movie from the Foo Fighters, which they filmed in secret when they were recording their last album. And the setup of this movie is it opens with Dave Grohl and the rest of the Foo Fighters in a boardroom talking to their manager, played by Jeff Garlin, who people might know from The Goldbergs or Curb Your Enthusiasm. And he's demanding that they deliver an album, and they are currently experiencing writer's block, something the real Foo Fighters don't really struggle with, as far as I know, but that's the plot of the movie. Yeah. So they decide that they want to kind of go somewhere that's going to really inspire them in the way that, like, when Led Zeppelin went to Aleister Crowley's haunted house and recorded albums there in the 70s, that kind of thing, and Jeff Garlin's like, I've got just the place for you. And then the majority of the film is them holed up in this mansion in California, where in the 90s a band recorded an album there and all horribly were murdered by the lead singer. And
nice.
Yeah, and the movie is basically just runs through a load of horror tropes of Dave Grohl getting possessed by some kind of demonic spirit in the house, and then murdering various people in various gruesome ways, and the rest of the band members trying to work out how to stop it. It's a really weird film.
From the trailer, it was pretty. It wasn't going to be normal, was it?
There's way more acting from the Foo Fighters in it than I expected, and they're not professional actors, and you have to kind of like very early on you have to be like, this is just a kind of fun, goofy time at the movies. I'm not going to take this too seriously, otherwise you would absolutely hate it. In particular, Pat Smear, who's one of the guitarists, I believe, in the Foo Fighters, is sort of really acting it up as the comic relief in it to like really odd mixed results, but is quite funny. Like there's loads of scenes of him with like a kind of, like when you look at old nursery rhyme illustrations and there'll be a little boy in like pajamas with a hat, like a pajama hat with a little fluffy ball on the end. He's like wearing one of those and walking around the house, and it's bizarre, but the gore and the effects are way better than I expected them to be. I think they got a genuine sort of special effects legend of some degree to come and be involved in the production of it in that way, which was pretty paid off, basically, because there's some quite gnarly, grim deaths and stuff, and they're all filmed pretty well. They're all kind of executed really well, which is good. John Carpenter wrote the theme tune for the movie, so it's got an amazing theme tune, obviously.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Apparently Dave Grohl, like one of the... What was it? When Dave Grohl told one of his roadies that he was going to make a horror movie, the guy was like, I was the roadie for John Carpenter on his tour. You should email him and see if he'll do a cameo in it. And Dave Grohl messaged him expecting nothing back, and John Carpenter replied saying something like, you took my son on tour a few years ago and you were amazing to him, so I'll cameo in your movie and I'll write the theme tune for you. And then he wrote this pretty great classic Carpenter tune that kicks off the film, and then he does have a little cameo in it later on, which made me all excited when it happened. And yeah, it's probably going to be tricky for anyone listening to this to see it in the cinema, because I think it's probably was in the cinemas for about a week, but it'll hit streaming services at some point,
Yeah.
and various other ways to watch it. And if you have a passing interest in horror or the Foo Fighters, then you should probably go and check it out, because it's a pretty fun time. The only thing that turned me off it is a lot of the humour in it is a bit on the sort of adolescent boy end of sort of humour. There's a lot of kicking each other in the testicles and things like that, which I found slightly tiring, but it's fine. We could live with it. So yeah, that was Studio 666. Next up, last thing to talk about Culture Catch Up is the only thing I'm interested in talking about today, to be honest. I went to the cinema yesterday to go and see The Batman.
I really want to watch it.
2022's.
Yeah.
Say that again?
Do I really want to watch it? Yeah, of course I really want to watch it.
Well, you decide after I say what I thought about it.
Okay.
2022's The Batman, written and directed by Matt Reeves, who, if people don't know Matt Reeves, he directed Cloverfield years ago. He directed 2 of the recent Planet of the Apes movies, and the American remake of Let the Right One In, which is one of the very few remakes of foreign language horror movies that actually worked. His remake of Let the Right One In is great. Weird journey to the screen for this Batman movie. It was originally announced as a Ben Affleck film that he was going to write and direct and star in as his version of Batman. Then eventually, he had such a horrible time making the Batman movies he did make, or not Batman movies, the Justice League things that he made, that he decided he didn't want to do this Batman film. And then it was announced Matt Reeves was taking over, and then it was announced that Ben Affleck had dropped out. And I think ultimately it all got a bit confused, because I think that Matt Reeves' project, which is what's being released now, was never the same project that Ben Affleck quit. It was 2 separate things, effectively, because this is very far removed from what Ben Affleck had been talking about wanting to do. Stars Robert Pattinson as Bruce Wayne / Batman, Paul Dano as the Riddler, Colin Farrell as the Penguin, Zoe Kravitz as Selena Kyle or Catwoman, Jeffrey Wright as Police Lieutenant Jim Gordon, and Andy Serkis as Alfred Pennyworth, the butler to Bruce Wayne, of course. And who else is in there that needs to be talked about? John Turturro turns up. I didn't really realise John Turturro was in this movie, but he is, as Carmine Falcone. Anyone who's read a lot of Batman comics will know Carmine Falcone. He's like one of the kind of mob bosses in Gotham that ends up being supplanted by all the kind of costumed freaks that come and take over in the wake of Batman. And it was described before release as being, let's have finally a Batman movie where the world's greatest detective is actually a detective and does detective work. So in the lead up to the movie coming out, this is what had been talked about, that it was going to be a detective film for once, that it was based on films like Seven and the Zodiac Killer. Like, they talked about how the Riddler was based on the Zodiac Killer, and Taxi Driver was inspiration, and all these other films, all the President's Men, all kind of coming together to form the inspiration for the new Batman movie. And then the last kind of key bit of information that came out before it was released was that it is 3 hours long, the longest Batman movie by some amount, and also I think the 3rd longest comic book movie ever, behind Zack Snyder's 4-hour-long Justice League and Avengers Endgame, which is just over 3 hours, I think.
Just too long, isn't it?
Yeah, but the thing is, Justice League and Avengers are at least team-up movies, so they have like all these characters that they need to fit in, and all this plot to tell, and the event. Like, this is the first Batman movie in like this new iteration of Batman. It was kind of wild that they'd gone with a 3-hour-long film straight from the top. It's amazing.
Of course.
I was nervous because I really like. I mean, I was the. I was the perfect age when The Dark Knight came out. I think I was about 17, and
So good.
that take on Batman Begins and The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises and Christopher Nolan and Christian Bale's take on Batman is kind of definitive. And Mark Kermode reviewed this movie the other day on the radio in the UK. He's a popular film critic in the UK, and he talks about how he thinks that all of the Batman movies now just will seem like footnotes to Christopher Nolan's films. And I don't agree, because this movie is like, I was quite nervous in a similar way for a while, because they talked about how it was grim and grounded and gritty and realistic. And it's like, well, that's all the ways that we described. We already did that. Christopher Nolan did that, and it was really good. How are you going to kind of do a similar thing to him and have it work, or have it feel like its own thing? But the thing about this movie is it is gritty and grim. Like, the entire movie takes place almost at nighttime. Pretty much every scene set outside. It's raining. The colour palette of the film is like black and red, and that's just about all the colours you're getting on screen most of the time. And that is so different. Like, so many scenes in The Dark Knight are set, like that opening scene in The Dark Knight where the Joker attacks the bank, that's in the daytime.
Yeah.
There's loads of scenes in The Dark Knight Rises set in the daytime. Like, the scenes in this movie set in the daytime, but just the visual look of the movies is very different. And Christopher Nolan's Batman films felt like they were grounded in a way where a lot of Batman stuff couldn't happen. Like, when he did Bane in the third movie, Bane wasn't injecting himself with venom that was making him really strong. He was just a really strong guy, and that was good and fine. And like, I love that movie. I'm not debasing it, but like, what Matt Reeves has managed to do is make a Batman film that feels grounded and realistic. Like, for the first time in this movie, when Bruce Wayne removes the Batman cowl, he still has eyeliner around his eyes. He still has black eye makeup on, because he does. Because whenever we see Batman, he's got black eye makeup on. So why not show that on Bruce Wayne when he takes his mask off?
Yeah.
So it feels grounded in that way, but it feels like a comic book world in a way that, like, Christopher Nolan's movies didn't. It's almost the halfway point between the Tim Burton movies that were completely comic book crazy fantasy films, with almost too much to that degree for some Batman fans, and then the Christopher Nolan movies, which are super set in attempting to be set in the real world. This happens in the middle, where it feels real and realistic, and you really think about the impact that doing this would have on somebody, and like, the film examines how the impact of being Batman would be on Bruce Wayne. But equally, it feels like you can have, Mr. Freeze could turn up in this world and it could potentially work, whereas Mr. Freeze in the Nolan movies just couldn't happen. And I kind of loved that about it. It has the first hour, like the first act of the movie, kind of broadly has the voiceover from Batman describing, like, he explains that he's been Batman at that point in the film for 2 years. Like, when the film opens, he's been Batman for 2 years, and it kind of opens with him talking about how the criminals in the city are starting to be afraid of him, and they're always looking in the shadows to see if he's in the shadows, and whenever they see the bat signal in the sky, it strikes fear into them. And then he says, I'm not in the shadows, I am the shadows. And it's just, it's so good. And Robert Pattinson's voice as Batman is quite basic.
Yeah.
There's been interviews recently where he talks about how he did a really wispy voice for a couple of weeks, and eventually they asked him to stop it, because I think he was trying to make quite a big choice that would feel like, his definitive stamp on it. And what he's ultimately gone with is something far more like what Kevin Conroy does as Batman, which is just to be a sort of gravelly voiced guy, but not to the extreme that Christian Bale did it in his Batman movies. But it works. It's a good solid voice, and his take on the character is he's very still, he's very dark, he's very quiet. In the scenes where he's got lots of scenes where he's talking to Jeffrey Wright's Lieutenant Gordon, where they're exploring this crime, the Riddler's crimes, and trying to work out what the truth is. And he's very good in these scenes as Batman, because he's covered in a costume and a mask and all of these things. But Robert Pattinson's performance, I think, really comes through a lot of stillness and silence, and it really works. And the way that other characters react to him really works. Colin Farrell as the Penguin is amazing. I've multiple people I've seen saying that they didn't even know it was Colin Farrell, and I've seen other people saying, like, why would you hire Colin Farrell to do this when he doesn't even, you putting all this makeup on top of him, he doesn't look like himself, so why have you hired him? Because he had a perfect take on the Penguin. He's so good in this movie, and I've never he's never done anything like this before, Colin Farrell, and it's an absolutely incredible like take on the Penguin. And a lot of stuff that came out before the movie was that the Penguin wasn't in the film very much. He was only a handful of scenes. He's like, this isn't a spoiler review of any kind, but there's more Penguin in this movie than I expected, and I was there for it. It was really good. It was fantastic. Paul Dano as the Riddler is great. Like, no one in this movie is better than Heath Ledger in The Dark Knight, because that's one of the greatest villain performances ever in anything. But they don't need to be, because in fact, for the first time in a Batman movie, the main character isn't one of the villains or Bruce Wayne. The main character is Batman, and you hardly even get much Bruce Wayne in this movie. It's Batman. It's Batman exploring these crimes and solving these mysteries and trying to work out what's going on and trying to help Gotham and struggling with that and finding out stuff about his own past that surprises him. And it's great. It's great. And I need to go and watch it again, because I might like it more than The Dark Knight, but I can't decide, because that's one of the best movies ever made. So it seems impossible to think that it could be better than The Dark Knight, but I am obsessed with it at the moment. I absolutely love this movie. And I think definitely Robert Pattinson is my favourite Batman on film.
That's
it is such a good film.
I really want to watch it.
You gotta watch it.
Oh yeah, but they put it on really stupid hours here in English, and if it's 3 hours, I'll get out of the cinema at 12. But sounds good.
But
bold statement, because The Dark Knight was amazing. Is this going to be another trilogy?
It's apparently a trilogy, and there's stuff in this, like there's a bunch of stuff in this film, but not in the way that like some movies set up future sequels, like Amazing Spider-Man 2 tried to set up a whole load of sequels and it didn't really work, and it detracted from the film. Like, this film works on its own, but there's definitely loads of points where you can see them spinning it off into sequels and trilogies. So yeah, they've said it's going to be a trilogy. Robert Pattinson seems keen to do a trilogy. Like, all the actors seem really keen. Like, they're going to do, apparently, a Penguin. They've announced and confirmed they're doing a Penguin TV show. So Colin Farrell is going to return as the Penguin in a TV show for HBO Max.
Wow.
Kind of chronicling his rise to the top of the Gotham underworld. And they're also going to do this film starts when he's been doing Batman for 2 years. So they're going to do a TV show, apparently, as well. They've announced, showing his first year as Batman, but through the eyes of the Gotham Police Department, not through his eyes as Batman. So there's going to be a film or TV show where we see his beginnings as Batman, through Gotham itself, which is, again, an interesting idea. And Gotham is, I love the look of Gotham in this movie. They filmed a load of scenes in England. They filmed a lot of it in Liverpool, and they used sort of that Gothic architecture incredibly well. And it's a joy to kind of, to see. Oh, wow. It's such a good film. Yeah.
Sounds amazing. I think, because they haven't really pushed Batman into a more surreal place. When Gotham is this like kind of dark city of, and you're right, it's either being too comic booky or too real.
Yeah.
And like Gotham City is like this kind of like, I've always imagined it after watching Sin City, that was kind of Gotham City,
Well, this film, actually, there's quite a bit in this film that you could take from Gotham, from Sin City. And it's not to take, like, the Tim Burton movies. No,
they were amazing,
films.
absolutely.
I like them. The Joel Schumacher movies are terrible. Yeah. And
I didn't mind those. I grew up with those.
No,
I thought they were okay.
I grew up with them as well. They're bad films. I don't like them. And then the Christopher Nolan ones are good as well. But like Christopher Nolan's Gotham City is just sort of Chicago, and that's fine for what he's doing, because he's making sort of crime films. He's taking his influences from Michael Mann and Heat and stuff like that, and creating a crime movie where this caped crusader Batman is sort of dealing with organised crime in that way. Whereas Matt Reeves has just created the Gotham City that I would want to see on film, like you said. Like, it's rain-drenched, it's gothic, it's dark, it's dreary. Catwoman is amazing. It's so good. It's so good.
Nice. Sounds good.
Yeah. I know it's on at stupid times, but I hope you manage to watch it at some point because I want to talk about it more.
Yeah, I will. I will watch it somehow.
Yeah. Well, that's all the culture catch-up I've got. So what have you got?
Do you not go to a gig?
Oh, I did. I saw Wolf Alice a couple of times actually.
A couple?
Well, yeah, they played in Manchester for 2 nights, and I went both nights.
Okay. Was it good?
Because I had two different people that wanted to see them, and we got tickets for different nights, so I ended up going twice. They were great. They were really good. I love Wolf Alice. I've talked about them a lot on this podcast before, and getting to see them live for the first time was really, really entertaining. They're definitely one of those bands that have like a set, and they like it felt like you're watching a show. And both nights, the set list and the performances were pretty much identical, but they do put on a really good show, so it was fun to watch both times. I love their song. So yeah, no, Wolf Alice were great.
Nice. Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
So it's my turn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So next week we're going to talk about Encanto, and but we have already recorded that. But after we recorded the episode, I listened all this week to the soundtrack of Encanto.
Okay. Nice.
It's so good. It's so good.
It is good.
It's so good. And I cried every morning. And I was like, oh my God, why am I so harsh on Lin-Manuel Miranda? I don't understand. Maybe I should give like Hamilton another go.
Yeah, you should give Hamilton another go.
I'm still not into your favorite song, the
Surface Pressure.
Surface Pressure, but it has grown on me. And then I decided to watch Encanto again, and it's so the second time is even better. It's such a good movie, and I've told all my kids to watch it all week, and I've been singing we don't talk about Bruno all week, and it's so amazing. But it's just the tears that come down when I don't move the mountains. Oh, so good. But yeah, I'm obsessed. I'm a little bit too much. But yeah, so after recording Marry Me, I hope we were talking about another film came out the same day as Marry Me, but not at the cinema. It's an Amazon film called I Want You Back, another romantic comedy. Oh,
is this with Charlie Day and Jenny Slate?
Yes. And we were after talking about Marry Me, and it's like, because I was really down on it because it's a romantic comedy, and there was nothing new about it. And so I was like, I'm gonna watch this. I Want You Back, and it stars Charlie Day, Jenny Slate, and then Gina Rodriguez, who I don't know if you ever see. Have you ever watched Jane the Virgin?
No, but I do know who Gina Rodriguez is.
Good, and is a romantic comedy, and it's about two people that get dumped, and they meet randomly, and they team up to sabotage their ex's new relationship, and that's it. And I feel like that's the kind of more romantic comedy is what we should have. Yes, it's predictable. I know you shouldn't be down on Marry Me, but I am. And this was like a really kind of fun romantic comedy that you can watch like 2 hours or an hour and a half, whatever long it is. And it was really good. And I like Charlie Day. He's always like he's quite funny. And I really like Jenny Slate. I think she's got, when I see a film with her or any comedies, it warms me up.
Nice.
Yeah. So if you're looking for a romantic comedy, watch this, not Marry Me.
Fair enough.
And then I watched a documentary. George knows this, and I convinced him a few times to go and see this kind of sport. And I watched a documentary on one of my favorite sports. Do you remember which one of my favorite sports is? That I dragged you to watch it.
Sumo wrestling?
Sumo, yeah. There's so what you just know, I love. So for our listeners, I love sumo. When we moved to Japan, for some reason we found some cheap tickets, and to the sumo thing, and we went, and I became obsessed. And then we went the next year. And we also took one of your friends that came to visit you, Emma, to see this sumo. And we stayed in like the expensive seats. And I just love sumo. I think is a great sport. And there's this amazing documentary that was made in 2020 called Sumo Do, the Successor of Samurai. And it's really good because it shows I appreciate sumo even more because I didn't realize how much they hurt themselves. I don't know. Because it's so big, I thought they were just kind of like, hurting
Bouncing
themselves
around.
a little bit, but they cause serious injuries, and especially because they're so big. Because there's a lot of like bomb, and they're so muscly, and they've got so much power, it follows two different stables. So the sumo wrestlers live in stables, and they're part of stables, and it follows two different stables, and one of them is very traditional, and the other one is a little bit more modern, and they're comparing the two stables and how they work. And at the end there is the one there's a fight against the two main guys from the two stables, and it's quite exciting because it kind of like the first half is one stable, the second half is the second stable. You kind of get attached to both guys, and then at the end they fight each other, and you're like, oh no, who's gonna win? And it's pretty fascinating. And if you have a chance to watch it, and if you don't know a lot about sumo, it shows you how focused the sumo wrestlers are, and how it's a sport of, in a way, of honor, and it doesn't matter how much they hurt, they still want to be, they still want to fight. And it's really good. I really enjoyed it, and I know people might maybe find sumo a little bit weird, but I find it like, I love the ritual of it. I love the power of it. Oh, it's just so much fun. I don't know if you enjoyed it watching it. Well, you did come to see it with me twice, so
Yeah, it's fine.
it's fine.
Much like any sport, it's okay, but it's the same thing over and over again.
Yeah. We also went to see it. We also went to see did we see a high school sumo tournament as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was super weird because it's like high school kids in like in these like things, and that was slightly strange, but it was good. Yeah, so Sumo-do, the successors of samurai, very, very interesting documentary. And then if you like Ali Wong, I watched her new special. Have you seen Ali Wong's specials on Netflix?
No.
Oh, okay. So Ali Wong is this comedian that last year also released Always Me Be My Maybe. Yes.
Very good film.
Yes, a very, very good film. But she's the first time I saw her was in her Netflix comedy special, Ali Wong Baby Cobra, where she was pregnant with her first child. A very good special. And then the second time I saw her on her second special, which was Ali Wong Had No Wife. and she was pregnant with a second kid. And the new special, which came out this year and is called Ali Wong Don Wong. She's not pregnant. It's a good special. I find her funny. She's become very crass, maybe. She's very I enjoyed it, but also I did enjoy it, and you kind of have to like watch it all to then kind of go to the end. And maybe I enjoyed it more after I watched the ending of the comedy special. I don't think it's her best, but I love her. She's fun. She's really she takes the piss out of herself. She takes the piss out of like her husband and her family, and it's fun. It's a fun hour to watch, and I really like her. I think she's also a really good physical comic. Like her face changes so much, and I think that's part of her comedy, and so I thought it was really good. And I've got one album recommendation for you today, an album that came out this year in February this year, from an artist called Mitski.
Oh yeah.
Yes, she released an album called Laurel Hell. Really, really good album. I really enjoyed it. It's got it's like poppy, indie pop, like electro pop, synthy pop. There was some kind of element of 80s kind of pop, and I really, really enjoyed it. It's a really good album, and if you haven't listened to it, listen to it because it's super fun. Apparently this is her 6th studio album. I've never heard of her before, so I'm going to go back in her discography and listen to her more, because it's really, really, really good. And yeah, and she's only like, I can't believe it's a 6th studio album. She's like only 31. Crazy.
Yeah. She's good. She's talented lady.
Yeah. Have you ever listened to her?
Yeah, not the new album, but her album "Bury Me at Makeout Creek" is very good. And,
Good.
I think her last album was called "Be the Cowboy," and that's also pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, Be the Cowboy is good. Be the Cowboy got a lot of good reviews. But I think "Bury Me at Makeout Creek" is considered a bit of a classic. So if you're looking at other ones to go and check out, I'd recommend that one.
Yeah. But yeah, this album is very good. I really enjoyed it. So it's a good album to start my journey with her. And yeah. Woohoo. And that's my culture culture for the week. Listen to Encanto. It's so good.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Okay. Good culture catch-up stuff from there. Obviously, the only thing you really need to worry about is the Batman. But Alex had some good stuff as well. So, shall we do some MyTube?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll go first, and then you've got something to share as well, right?
Yeah, which I think probably you've seen already, but maybe you haven't. You never know.
Okay, well, you take that and tell me when you're ready to watch it.
Okay. Oh, I've seen the trailer for this.
Oh, you have?
Let's watch it again, because I'm so excited.
Okay.
So, George sent me a trailer for a 2022 Brad Pitt, Brian Tyree Henry Bullet Train.
Bullet Train. So let's watch it, see what we think.
Yeah. I'm so excited. This looks so good.
Okay.
I'm so excited because also Atlanta season 3 of Atlanta is coming out with him.
It is. I need to watch it properly.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, go.
Hi. There's a gun.
So they're on a bullet train in clearly Japan.
Yep. Brian Tyree Henry's got some crazy hair.
This is the quiet car.
They're in the quiet car.
They have to be quiet and they're fighting in the quiet car.
I like it.
Yeah, this is Brad Pitt and Brian Tyree Henry. Dun, 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 dun. And it's Japan. I miss you, Japan. But it's kind of a comic book Japan, isn't it?
Yeah, it looks like it. I mean, it's
Yeah.
the director from one of the John Wick movies and one of the Deadpool movies, so it's
Yeah.
definitely like a heightened reality type thing.
Yeah.
Some conflicts require.
There's Sandra Bullock passing him his instructions.
Stop, Sandra Bullock. Okay.
It is indeed.
Okay. There's various assassins on this train.
A briefcase. You said you wanted simple for your first
Uh-huh.
job back. Doesn't get simple.
Yeah, I don't quite get a feeling of what the story is from this trailer, but I definitely get the feeling that it's going to be a fun movie.
Yeah, so I think everybody wants this briefcase, and everybody's going to
Yeah.
fight for this briefcase.
Including Bad Bunny,
Yeah.
popular musician.
Is he?
Yeah. He's like a... I forget the term for it, but he's a very popular rapper,
Okay.
musician,
I'm not the only one on this train looking
guy.
for this case.
Yeah.
Evan, where's the briefcase?
And that, it just looks amazing.
We all right?
And then there's Aaron Johnson Taylor.
Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Fate.
Yeah, a lot of pretty solid character actors,
Yeah.
and then Brad Pitt.
Yeah. It just looks fun, doesn't it? And this scene now
Yeah.
with Brad Pitt looks really funny.
Yeah, it does.
Oh,
Thanks. Domo arigato.
domo arigato.
Sure you want to talk this out?
Not particularly, no.
Ah, that's so much fun. That looks like fun. I'm excited. I'm scared it might not be that good because there's really some good scenes in the trailer, but I think it'd be very entertaining.
Yeah,
I'm
I hope it's
excited.
entertaining. I've got another trailer for you here
Okay.
that you may also have watched. I don't know, but another one that looks like it could be fun, but this one looks like it might also be a disaster. I don't know. I'm interested to know what your take on this is. Okay,
Like every
let me know when
film,
you're ready
it could
to
be
watch
fun or a disaster. So, okay, I haven't seen the trailer for this, but I saw it. Like I know the existence of it. So it's the Bubble Judd Apatow comedy. I do like Judd
Yeah.
Apatow. I think he does some good films. Personally,
I think
it's funny.
I think he makes films that are good in part, but always like 20 minutes too long.
Okay. Says the
Comedies
guy that
shouldn't
says
be-
that he loves a 3-hour film of a guy.
Yeah, but
dressed
that's
as fat.
like a film noir. He makes like Judd Apatow makes improv comedy movies. Like they should
And
be
I love
90 minutes
improv
and
comedy
out.
movies.
Yeah, they still should be 90 minutes and out though, in my opinion. But let's see.
I
I don't know,
guess.
and I don't know how long this film is, but I hope it's not. It's like 2.5
Okay.
hours long. Okay, are you ready to
Yeah.
go?
Yeah.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, so they're climbing a mountain. Oh, it's a Netflix film.
Yeah.
I think his daughter is in it as well. Iris Apatow,
think-
not Maud.
Think so. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. That's Iris Apatow, yeah. Yeah. What? What is this? Oh, and they're in a green screen. That's quite funny, actually. Oh!
Great take. Welcome to the start of production of Cliff Beast 6.
Okay.
For joining us in our
Are you getting why it's called the bubble yet?
Oh, there's also like COVID in this film. I like it already.
Sweet eyes at each other. I'll show you what that looks
And they
like.
have the visor. Oh.
Oh my god, it's Minnie Driver.
Oh, I love her. What's her name?
I love her.
Kate McKinnon,
Kate McKinnon. I love Kate McKinnon.
Fred Armisen, Karen Gillan, David Duchovny.
I think this is going to be good. Like, I like all the actors in it.
Yeah.
Why do you look like Benedict Cumberbatch right now?
Hello, I'm Doctor Strange.
I don't like it.
Benedict
Stop being
Cumberbatch. Stop being Benedict Cumberbatch. Oh, is that Maria? Is she from
Borat 2, yeah.
Borat 2? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Now I understand why it's called the bubble.
Mom, they're not real.
I thought there was an elephant wearing a mask or something.
Okay. I understand why it's called a bubble. Well, I like the fact they included COVID in it. I think there's going to be a British sensibility to it, so I think it's going to be extra funny.
Well, Peter Serafinowicz is in there, which is good, and Guz Khan is a good British comedian. So
Yeah.
I hope
I'm
it's
excited.
good. It looks mad.
But it's going to be on Netflix straight away, yeah?
Yeah. And pretty soon, like end of this month, I think it's going up on the 1st of April. So
Cool.
yeah. So what have you got for MyTube?
I've got I think it's a series on Hulu.
Okay.
Have you seen it?
So I haven't seen this trailer, no, but I know of this. This is a movie.
It's a movie.
It's a movie that's coming out. It was meant to come out on Friday, actually, in the UK, and I was going to watch it, and then it got delayed by 2 weeks. So it's coming out near the end of March on Disney Plus in the UK, but I think it's already out on Hulu in America. But
Yeah,
we don't
because it
have
seems
Hulu
like
in the UK.
Hulu, like for example, Pam and Tommy, it was a Hulu thing, but now it's out on Disney Plus.
That's because Hulu only exists in America, so it doesn't.
Okay.
So stuff that gets like Hulu shows come out because Disney owns Hulu, so internationally their stuff gets released on Disney Plus.
Okay.
Not the most exciting
Tommy and Pam and Tommy.
news. No. I just meant like discussing who owns Hulu, etc. It's fine that you don't know that because it's boring.
You know everything. You're like my encyclopedia. George, can you explain this to me? Like the other day, he's like, George, what are NFTs? I don't understand cryptocurrency.
Don't get into NFTs with me, please.
Have you seen the trailer?
No, I haven't seen the trailer because I know I want to watch the movie, so I didn't bother watching the trailer. But we'll watch it now and talk about it.
Okay. 3, 2, 1, go.
Crab. There's a woman. There's a man.
Because I think you would just look great in a dress. But I mean, if you were
Pretty much done, actually, thank you.
They're on a bad date.
snag these leftovers.
His scarf's in the food.
Oh, it's horrible.
Do it. Dating people. No, you do not need a man, okay? So don't play the games. Just
That's it.
be you straight out the gate.
Do you live around here? Because I live on aisle 6. Oh, it's terrible.
Was kind of terrible.
So it starts like a really romantic comedy, and then
Yeah.
Oh, see, that's shady.
Let's play a game. Tell me something you don't want me to know.
I hate this.
Okay.
Oh no.
what's happening? What do you think is happening?
There's been a whirlwind romance, but now it seems like maybe he's drugged her.
And then? Is he going to eat her?
It could maybe be.
Like, because I feel like that looks like meat, and it's called fresh.
Yeah.
And I'm like, is he going to eat her? Is it about
Straight girl's fantasy come true, right?
cannibalism? I thought it was
I
right
think it
up the
is.
street. So
It is up my street. I'm very excited to see it. I was very annoyed when I realised it had been delayed. Yeah, the poster for it is like a woman's hand in a meat packaging, packet. So, but then that all seems quite obvious, and what people say about it is to go in knowing as little as possible about it. So,
okay.
maybe there's something more to it. I don't know, but I'm pretty interested to see it. Fresh, coming soon to Hulu or Disney Plus. Already out on Hulu or coming soon to Disney Plus elsewhere in the world. And it's mad that films like Fresh and that one that you talked about a few minutes ago of Charlie Day and Jenny Slate called I Want You Back. Films like that look pretty good aren't coming out in cinemas now, but then films like Marry Me are coming out in the cinema.
But that's the thing. I was just like, when I want you back is kind of like it would be quite a nice date film to watch with a partner, or because it's fun and it's got like funny moments, and there's a lot of crying and it's silly, and that's kind of the if you want a romantic comedy, I think that's the perfect combination. But it just I only saw it because I went on Prime yesterday, but I hadn't seen anything about it. So, and then Marry Me was everywhere. It was like it was pants. And the chemistry between Charlie Day and Jenny Slate is like it's there. There is chemistry.
Yeah, fair play. Fair play to them.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got some homework to discuss.
Yeah.
Sit down at the back and be quiet and get out your book because it's time to discuss your homework. Now.
Well, I'll go first. So I had to watch, based on our Sandra Bullock episode, the 1996 Joel Schumacher movie, A Time to Kill.
Yes.
Yeah. Based on a novel by John Grisham. This is a long, 2.5 hour long courtroom drama. The likes of which we don't see anymore. We don't see John Grisham adaptations anymore. We don't see big, long, meaty courtroom dramas anymore. They don't tend to make these movies anymore. I think partly because superhero films are what we see now and stuff, and also maybe partly because these sorts of stories now tend to get made into limited series TV shows and dramas and things, rather than being like. The great thing about this movie is it's got Matthew McConaughey is in it, Sandra Bullock is in it, Samuel Jackson is in it, Karen Spacey is in it, Oliver Platt's in it, Charles S. Dutton's in it, Donald Sutherland is in it, Kiefer Sutherland is in it, Patrick McGowan is in it, Ashley Judd is in it, Chris Cooper is in it, Karen Spacey is in it. It's got all these incredible actors in it, and it's. In the 90s, a TV show wouldn't have these people in it, and the TV show wouldn't be amazing. Whereas now, today, if you made this book into a thing, you could still get all these actors and make it into a TV series. But I kind of like this. I like the 2.5 hour meaty courtroom drama from the 90s aesthetic and vibe that we get from this movie. And I wish that we still got films like this, but we don't. Samuel Jackson is Carl Lee Haley. Trigger warnings now for some. You skip a few minutes ahead if you don't want descriptions of sort of sexual abuse and things, because this movie is pretty dark. The film opens with Carl Lee Haley's daughter being abducted and raped by two men, and this is set in. Is it set in Mississippi? I think, or it's set in a Southern American state where racism is. This is a movie about racism, basically, from the 90s. So. Samuel Jackson, his daughter is raped in this way, and then the two white boys are arrested for it because it's pretty clear that they did it. And as they're being taken to the courtroom, Samuel Jackson walks in with a gun and murders them both dead, along with in the kind of crossfire, a police officer gets shot in the leg. So then. Matthew McConaughey's Jake Briggins, hotshot defense lawyer in this small town, takes on the task of trying to prove to the world that Samuel Jackson was insane during this moment, and have him declared criminally insane or temporarily insane, to basically have him found innocent of this crime. And it's a pretty kind of interesting film because it's quite a complicated case. I think that most people in the world we live in would agree that Samuel Jackson's character has broken the law there, but you can also say that he's absolutely correct that he would have been out not in control of his own actions there, and that case was going to happen in a state in America where those two men were probably going to pretty much get off with the crime that they had committed. And it's a controversial movie. I was interested to see in the reception section on Rotten Tomatoes, on Wikipedia, quite unusually, it's got an entire paragraph devoted to its reaction in France, because the French hate this movie for some reason. Well, not for some reason. They hate it because they think it's fascist and kind of glamorizes vigilantism. So I guess based on that, the Batman movies probably don't get released in France.
They probably hate all the Marvel films and all the Batman films.
They have it's a real kind of vicious opinion on it. It's fascinating. It's a like I said, it's an interesting case, but I really enjoyed watching this film. I thought it was great. I think all of the cast are brilliant. Matthew McConaughey is in the period of his career before he decided to make lots and lots of romantic comedies. So, right near the start where he was still being fantastic. Sandra Bullock, being the reason that I watched it, is really good in it as well. She's not actually in it lots.
No.
She probably has like half an hour screen time across the 2.5 hours, but she makes a good impact as sort of she wants to help in the case, basically. She's another lawyer who comes along and offers to be a research assistant and stuff for Matthew McConaughey, and there's a couple of good scenes of her proving pretty invaluable to the team. Samuel L. Jackson, it's great to see a film from early in his career where he was really like, before he was Samuel L. Jackson and when he was just an actor, and we don't get enough performances like this out of him nowadays in terms of... Well, no, I should be careful the way I say that, because obviously there is an element to this character in this film in terms of like, he's the black man complaining about racism, and it's great that Samuel L. Jackson is able to now be in movies where the fact that he's a black man isn't relevant to the characters he's playing. But he doesn't necessarily stretch himself dramatically in films as much nowadays. He does sometimes, I'm sure, but like most of the time when you see him nowadays playing Nick Fury or some other big character, whereas in this movie he's really got quite a lot to do dramatically, and he's really good at it. Like, he's amazing at it. He should, that's a man who's never won an Oscar, and in the 90s he did this and he did Pulp Fiction, and either one of those movies I think he could have been Oscar nominated for and won. And Donald Sutherland's in this a fair amount. He's pretty good in it. Kiefer Sutherland is quietly intimidating and scary in this film as sort of this presence in the background of the film who wants to avenge the murder of his brother. And that's all the actors. There's no other actors to discuss. And it's a good film. I liked it.
It is. Good. Yeah. I'm glad.
Yeah. I didn't watch that. Shut up. Stop.
I hope you're not talking to me.
No, I'm talking to my Alexa.
Very similar names as well.
That's probably why she decided to start piping up. Yeah, good. She's good. It was a good film. I'm glad you made me watch it finally, and because I'd been looking at it on Netflix for a while, especially as we were doing the Sandra Bullock episode, and I thought that I should watch it, and I'm glad I did. I'm glad I did. I'd recommend people go and check it out if it's easily accessible for them, like it is for me on Netflix. Give it a watch. It's a good film. What about you?
So I had to watch 2 films. Shall I start with Jaws first, because that was the homework from a couple of weeks ago?
Sure.
Yeah, so I watched Jaws, and then I watched While You Were Sleeping. So I watched Jaws because of a favorite because we did a top 5 Steven Spielberg films, and I think I had watched Jaws, but I wasn't, I think I wasn't really impressed by it, or I hadn't watched it all. But yeah, it's set in Amity Island, which is a small community where it seems like the only thing that is important is the 4th of July and the summer trade. I guess during the winter, nobody's there. And they don't make any money, and its only business seems to be to go to the beach. That's the only important thing on Amity Island. There's a police chief on the island, played by Roy Scheider, which I had already seen in the film. What was that film that you told me to watch, where they have to take explosives?
Oh, yeah, Sorcerer. I forgot I told you to watch that film.
Sorcerer. Yeah. Roy Scheider is a police chief and he's really good. You know, he was a police chief in New York, and he gets called one day and they find the remains of a body. They find out that the remains of the coroner says that the remains of the body are of this from a shark attack, like the girl has been attacked by a shark. But then when so Roy Scheider goes around and he wants to close all the beaches, but then the mayor comes and he says the beaches must not be closed. It's like, you can keep the beaches open and not tell people not to go in the water, but never mind. No,
I think that the telling people not to go in the water implicitly is closing the beaches, as far as I'm concerned.
I guess you can go on the beach.
Yeah, but people go there to swim in the sea, so
Yeah, I guess so. But then there are more shark attacks. Hooper arrives on the island. He's from the Oceanographic
Institute.
Yes, to help out, played by a fantastically young and beautiful Richard Dreyfuss. He's very attractive in this film. He's beautiful.
Yeah, he is.
And they try, but the beaches are still open. People still die, and then the chief, Roy Scheider, Hooper, Richard Dreyfuss, and Quint, played by Robert Shaw. Go on a boat. Robert Shaw is a shark connoisseur. He's got lots of shark mouths in his place. He's a drunkard. He's a fisherman. They go out to sea to kill the shark.
Yeah.
I actually quite enjoyed this film this time.
Good.
What I did not like was the fact that what happens to Quint. I was very upset because by the end I really liked him. I don't.
Yeah, well, that's kind of a strength of the movie.
I was upset by that. I was like, why?
Yeah.
Why do they have to do that to Quint? But I
well,
thought
because it's like a sort of an analogue for what's his name in Moby Dick, I guess, in terms of his obsession with the shark leads to his ultimate downfall. Spoilers for Jaws if you haven't seen it.
Yeah, I guess so. But I really enjoyed it because one thing I found really weird is, like, Richard Dreyfuss, he's like a guy that studies oceans. Why would he want to kill a shark? Like, that he should do the opposite. So I don't know why they had to, like, he could have had another job, maybe like a fisherman or something. I thought that was a bit strange that, like, a guy that works for the ocean wants to kill a shark, but never mind.
Yeah, but it's a murderous shark. It's not like a.
Yeah,
it's not a real world scenario, Alex. Like, sharks aren't
I
actually
guess.
that.
But I just thought maybe he could have not done that. But I really liked the chemistry between Richard Dreyfuss, Roy Scheider, and Robert Shaw. I thought that was amazing, especially when they're on the boat. They argue, they sing, they fight, they get drunk. It's all very fun, and it seems like genuine fun between them. And
it's like that's what makes Jurassic Park such a good film, isn't it? Dinosaurs. It's the chemistry between Sam Neill and Jeff Goldblum and Laura Dern. It's like this film Jaws isn't necessarily about the shark. It's about the chemistry between those three actors and the way that they interact, and that's what makes it, like the scene on the boat where they're describing their different scars. They're comparing scars.
I thought that was hilarious. It was so much fun.
Yeah, it's
so silly.
One of the best scenes in cinema. It's a kind of a classic scene. It's got nothing to do with the shark in the movie. It's just
no. And it's fun. It's got some good moments, and there's the moment where where Richard Dreyfuss arrives at Roy Scheider's house, and he brings some wine, and Roy Scheider pours
yeah.
a little bit to it for his wife, a little bit for Richard Dreyfuss, and then like an entire glass, like pint glass for himself. And I was like, yeah, that's how it would feel.
That's a great bit.
It's fun also because, you know, Richard Dreyfuss plays the part of like an expert, but in reality he has just money and no sense, whilst Quint is like, Robert Shaw is like this, you know, fisherman, but he knows he's very wise, and they kind of learn from each other, and it's quite cool. It's fun. One of my favorite scenes was because it felt what Steven Spielberg managed to do. The first time that the chief and Hooper go to the sea to kind of do some research, and they go in the boat at night, and they go in this bit, and it's clearly been filmed in a swimming pool or something, because the water is still, the lighting is weird, but he managed to create a scene that it was kind of surreal. So it was kind of like a surreal moment that made total sense. Like they're there in the middle of nowhere, you don't know what they are, what they're doing, and there's just this boat and this still water. And I don't think any other director could have been able to make this surreal moment work. And people are like, oh yeah, it's in a swimming pool. But even if it's probably in a swimming pool, it's so surreal and well made and so well lit that it just felt like they were in a non-place space. I don't know.
Yeah.
And I kind of started enjoying the movie more there, because I was like, well, yeah, this is about just they're trying to fight a monster. They don't know exactly what it looks like, what it is, and it kind of adds to the film. Then becomes kind of like surreal. And so it doesn't. You don't necessarily need to take it too seriously, but also you are scared of this, this monster that you don't really see.
Did the jump scare in that scene get you?
Yeah, because it's just like this thing appears, like what the fuck? It's like what?
Yeah.
And then, no, I liked it, and it's really well acted, and I think that also adds to the film because it's really well acted. So no, I the second time round I enjoyed it. I don't like the fact that they went against a shark, and poor sharks, and for the sake of Jaws in 1975 you can kill a shark. 1975. Yeah.
70. Yeah, I think so.
1975. Yeah. And then for my Sandra Bullock homework, I had to watch While You Were Sleeping.
Yes.
And thank God there's Sandra Bullock in this film. And also, Bill Pullman, because, they're quite charming, both of them. And I think that's why the film works, because thinking about it, it's a little bit creepy.
Yeah, it is.
And for me, it's
creepy.
constantly thinking. So this film is about Lucy, who works in a booth in the Chicago metro or subway, and she collects money. You have to buy the tickets from her, and she's got a crush on this guy. And she sees him, and one day he says, Merry Christmas, I think, and she loves him even more. And then but she's really shy, she's kind of frumpy, isn't she? They made her really extra frumpy in this film, messy hair, big clothes, how can anybody be?
She's still Sandra Bullock though.
Yeah, ultimately. But it's let's put Sandra Bullock, let's mess Sandra Bullock's hair up and give her a big jumper, she's gonna look unattractive. It's it's impossible. So just put a bag on her head, and that's the only way that maybe you don't know how beautiful she is. But yeah, so she saves him from a mugging, and he goes in a coma, and then people think that she's engaged to him, and the family that visits this guy is in a coma thinks that she's engaged with him, and they kind of invite her in her home, and then she kind of her and his brother kind of fall in love. And then he proposes in the most kind of, amazing way. But the entire when he puts the ring in the booth, not mind. But yeah, and so they kind of fall in love, and then they get married, etc., etc. When I watched this film, I was like, because I already watched it, and so I remembered it. But it's just the kind of things like what's going to happen when they find out. It's kind of, I was just thinking, how would any family react? And they reacted very positively,
Well, they just have to like her so much that they don't care as long as they can continue to have her in their life, which is why it's a bit like, she's an amazing person, but why has she why like where are the other people in her life that think she's amazing?
And I know it's a film and it had to be a film, but it would have been so easy to say, no, actually, I don't know this guy.
No, because of the nurse. You see, the nurse heard her say, so now she has to. And then the family friend said, no, the grandma will die, so you have to keep it up, and I'll take the blame when it comes to it.
Yeah, so I don't know.
But all of this is just subtext. What you've just described, you could take. I guess that's part of the film, but that's not what the film's about.
What do you mean?
Well, the film is about a young man who woke up one morning thinking that his paper route was going to be an ordinary, normal day. And little did he know, disaster was going to strike.
I watched that video on YouTube about 6 times. I think that's probably like the most exciting part of the film. It's so funny. Like I kept watching it on YouTube on repeat. And he just cycles, and then he's so into being this extra, isn't he? And the first one, you can see he does it really like calmly, and then the second one, he just like goes for it, and then he just swings around. That's pretty funny.
He broke his wrist.
Yeah, he broke his wrist. And,
amazing, but he provided one of the greatest moments in cinema. So it
is pretty cool. But yeah, it's a good film. It's they in the end they get married, and they have the best part in Chicago seems to be the metro system, and they get married, and they're on a train for some reason. I didn't know you could do that. But no, it was fun. Sandra Bullock, anything she does is good.
Yeah,
and it's always nice to see Bill Pullman. I like him.
Who does it? He's great.
Yeah, it's really charming.
I love him.
So 2 good films. Definitely Jaws is pretty exciting, and I'm glad I gave it a second shot. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Our top 5. So, today we're doing top 5 best picture movies. Until yesterday, I thought it was going to be top 5 nominations, which was a long.
That's too many films, Alex.
That was a long list. Also, because it feels like more films, I like more of the nomination than the actual winners.
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, that's why in one day we'll do like top 5 films that should have won but didn't. Were nominated but didn't win, because then you could even go further in and be like films that didn't even get nominated but were clearly the best films that year. Who knows where the Batman will ultimately end up. I think it's going to win more Oscars than Titanic next year, but we'll have to wait and see. So we're doing our top 5 movies that have won the Best Picture Oscar. So any film from the very first Academy Awards, which I think was a film called Wings or Planes or something, all the way up to last year's Nomadland is eligible for entry onto our top 5. Yeah?
Yeah.
Good. I'm going to kick things off and then you can come in. My number 5 is a film it's the oldest film on my list. In fact, it's the only film on my list that was released before I was born.
Oh.
Yeah. It's from 1968, and it is a musical because it is from the era where musicals made big money and won big awards. And it is the Charles Dickens adaptation, Oliver.
Oh. I have never seen it.
Have you never seen Oliver?
I have never seen Oliver.
I have a huge soft spot for this movie. I grew up watching it all the time. In particular, it was a sort of Christmas Day tradition in my house to watch Oliver, or Christmas Eve even, and I ended up just sort of falling in love with the songs, with the whole thing. In particular, Ron Moody, who plays Fagin in this movie, is absolutely is just fantastic. And like a few years ago, I think Roman Polanski made another Oliver adaptation, but it wasn't a musical. And I remember just being like, well, why would you do that? Why would you do that and leave out the songs? You know, what are you doing? But yeah, it's kind of in the way of a film from 1968 that's set in Victorian London. It's quite big and bold and colourful and brash, and probably quite dated by today's standards. But no, I really love it. And Ron Moody as Fagin and Oliver Reed as Bill Sykes in particular are fantastic in it. And I'd recommend that anyone watch it if they haven't seen it, including you.
Yeah. The only thing I know about this film is it not like at one point it was like, please sir, may I have some more?
Yes, so
Yeah.
I mean, Oliver, for those who don't know, is this tale of young orphan boy Oliver who starts life in a Victorian workhouse and gets sold to a funeral director for daring to ask for more than one serving of gruel at dinner, which leads to the song "Food, Glorious Food." Great. He runs away from the funeral home to London, where he gets taken in by the Artful Dodger and Fagin and taught the art of pickpocketing, and ultimately has to contend with Bill Sykes, a very nasty piece of work indeed. And it's just a great story. Obviously, Charles Dickens wrote it. It's a good story, and then the songs are good. It all comes together really well, and big love for it.
That sounds good. Iconic, Oliver.
Yes.
Yeah. Is it also a musical on stage? I think so, isn't it?
Yes, I've seen it on stage. And it uses the same songs.
Cool. So my like it. My number 5 is the winner of the 1985 Best Picture Oscar, and it's a film called Amadeus.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it's kind of like a period drama, directed by Milos Forman, and it follows the life of Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart from when he leaves Salzburg and the rise to fame, and it's about the fictional or maybe not fictional, but we don't know, rivalry between Mozart and another composer called Salieri. And it's and there's a lot of Mozart music. It portrays Mozart as this eccentric, crazy guy, and how he revolutionized opera. And I have a really big soft spot for this film. I think it's funny, it's tragic, it's really good, and there's a lot of Mozart in it. I didn't realize he won the Oscar until I started doing my research. Yeah, this film is good. So Antonio Salieri, which is one of the main characters, is played by F. Murray Abraham. And Mozart is played by this actor called Tom Hulce, which I haven't really seen him in anything else.
Nice, cool. Yeah, I've never seen it, and I don't know anything about it. But Sam, you've sold it. I wouldn't have watched it because it's a biopic, and I tend not to watch those. But,
yeah, But it's not
you
like a
sold
real
it. It
biopic.
sounds
It's like
interesting.
completely like you don't take it serious. It's like a kind of fantasy biopic of like what their rivalry could have been. It's really kind of silly and fun, and yeah, it's not real. Don't look at it as like it's biography because it's I don't think it is.
For
What is your number
5.
4?
Okay, number 4. The 2017 film, winner of the Best Picture Oscar in 2018, Guillermo del Toro's masterpiece, The Shape of Water.
Oh, I really want to watch that. I've never seen
You've
it.
not seen it?
No, I haven't seen The Shape of Water.
The sort of film that shouldn't win an Oscar. Guillermo del Toro is this incredible filmmaker where, like, he makes movies. He makes exactly the film he wants to make every time he makes a film, and sometimes popular culture and where culture is lines up with the film he's made, and sometimes it doesn't. Like Pacific Rim, fun, entertaining, big action movie, didn't seem to hit in the way that it should have hit. Other films like Crimson Peak, again, gothic romance, didn't quite take the world by storm in the way it could have done. Shape of Water, somehow it just hit in the right way. It's not necessarily any better or worse than a lot of his other films, although it is better than Nightmare Alley, which I really didn't like.
Which is this year, it's nominated for an Oscar this year as well.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
After you spoke about it, and also as nominated as an Oscar, it's like.
Yeah, but I mean, it has had people have liked it. I didn't take to it. But this movie, I mean, you've got Sally Hawkins, Michael Shannon, Richard Jenkins, Doug Jones, Michael Stuhlbarg, Octavia Spencer. All of those people are fantastic actors. Like, he pulls together a great ensemble for this film. Doug Jones, basically, it's set in a research laboratory of some description in a city in when's it set? Like the 1940s, 60s. But it's a fantasy film, so it's set in a very heightened reality. But it's all blue and green. Like, the color palette in this movie is amazing, and it mainly follows Elisa Esposito, played by Sally Hawkins, who is a cleaner in this research laboratory. And one day, a creature is brought into the lab, played by Doug Jones, who is effectively the creature from the Black Lagoon, like a merman of some description. The amphibian man is being experimented on in this place. Michael Shannon plays a horrible piece of work who's kind of in charge of the research and is basically torturing this guy, this amphibian man. And Sally Hawkins begins to form a relationship of some kind with this creature, which is complex and interesting. And is it romantic? Is it platonic? Like, what exactly is their relationship? And it's strange and weird and different and cool and beautiful, and is everything that an Oscar-winning film should be, I think, and takes chances, and the chances pay off, and I absolutely love it. And you should watch it. I'm surprised you haven't seen it. It's such a good film.
I think it just came out on
like
Prime, so I'm gonna watch it.
Give it a go. So yeah, not much more to say other than I just love it, and I think it's. I mean, I don't think it's better than Pan's Labyrinth, but it's definitely up there with Guillermo del Toro's best work. It's it's probably his best English language film, I'd say. And until the day he finally gets to make his in Mountains of Madness H.P. Lovecraft adaptation, which he's been trying to make for years.
Nice.
So yeah, that's my number 4. What have you got?
I've got my number 4 is best 2009 Best Picture winner, Slumdog Millionaire. Film directed by Danny Boyle with Dev Patel and Frida Pinto, Anil Kapoor and Irfan Khan. And it's a story about Jamal, who's 18 years old and is from the slums of Mumbai. And he is on the Indian version of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and he is answering all these questions, and he gets arrested by the police because they're like, how does a kid from the slums know all these answers? And the film is just basically him telling his story, and that's how he finds out all the answers. And I love this film. It's directed by Danny Boyle, and it's really colorful. It's really beautiful to watch, and also it shows you like a side of India that maybe you don't know, like and I just really enjoyed it. I just love it. I love their soundtrack is really good, and I've got I don't know, I've got good memories about watching this film. I watched it in a cinema in Nepal when it came out.
Wow.
Yeah, and I just been to India, and then I went to Nepal, and I went to a cinema, and it was an amazing experience to be in a cinema in Nepal. And then I came out, and I was like, oh my god, it just kind of felt like it for me. It felt really realistic because I just was there, and I don't know. I've got some really good memories about this film, and I think it's really fun to watch. I like Danny Boyle as a director, and I think he did a good job. And
oh, definitely.
Yeah. And Dev Patel is amazing in it. I love Dev Patel. He's a really good actor. Have you seen the film?
Yeah, I've only seen it once, around when it came out, but I remember really enjoying it. And yeah, like you said, Dev Patel's amazing, and it's great that Danny Boyle, got some real recognition because he is such a fantastic director, and it's good that he's had his time in the Oscars spotlight, being told by the world how good he is. So yeah. My number 3 is a movie that we don't need to spend too much time discussing because we've talked about it a lot, but I couldn't not put it on my list because it's it just every time I can put it on the list, I'm going to put it on the list. The 1991 film, the 1992 Best Picture winner, The Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah.
Yep. Jonathan Demme's adaptation of Thomas Harris's novel starring Jodie Foster as Clarice Starling, Anthony Hopkins as Hannibal Lecter, and Ted Levine as Buffalo Bill. And it is probably the greatest psychological thriller ever made, and one of the very few horror or horror-adjacent movies to win an Oscar, along with The Shape of Water, which I've also put on my list, I guess. And we've talked about it. You've watched it as homework. We've discussed it in depth. Yeah. But it has to go on there because it is one of my favourite films ever. So yeah.
Cool.
The Silence of the Lambs. And it's just wild that movie won Best Picture because nobody, like, what I love about The Silence of the Lambs and what I don't like about some other Best Picture winners, The King's Speech, for example, is that when they were making The Silence of the Lambs, nobody on set would have been like, this is going to win the Oscar for Best Film. Like, nobody would have. It's not the kind of movie that gets Best Picture or even gets considered in the Oscars, but they just made such a good film that it had to be in the running and it had to get mentioned, and it ended up winning the big award. And I love it when a film that wouldn't have been financed and budgeted and produced in order to be in the Oscars conversation and have that be a revenue stream ends up getting into that conversation just on its own merits. That I really like those stories, and I think The Silence of the Lambs is one of the best examples of that. So, what's your number 3?
My number 3 is a 1987 picture winner, war film, Platoon.
Oh, Platoon.
Yeah. Directed by Oliver Stone. I did not realise that this was like the first of a trilogy of films I have seen. But I guess it's the trilogy of like Oliver Stone, I Hate War trilogy.
Right, okay. What are the other 2 films in that trilogy?
There is Born on the 4th of July.
Okay.
And Heaven and Earth.
Okay. I've only seen Born on the 4th of July of those 3.
And it's a film about it stars Charlie Sheen when he was still doing some good films, Tom Berenger, Willem Dafoe, and Forrest Whitaker is in it, and there is Dr. Cox, John C. McKinley, and it's about Chris Taylor. He's young, naive American, and he volunteers to go to Vietnam. He arrives there and realizes that he is quite useless. He also has got two officers who don't really get along and are very different one from another, played by Willem Dafoe and Tom Berenger. It's some horrible stuff happens, and it kind of messes up with Taylor's mind and also yours as a viewer. And it's a very powerful film that shows Chris feels Charlie Sheen feels totally useless there, and I think it's a way to show how useless and pointless that war was, and how disgusting that war was. And I think Oliver Stone wanted to make something that showed the real war, not the hero war, but the horrible war that this Vietnam War was. And it was also written by Oliver Stone, and it's kind of autobiographical. It kind of shows the experiences that he had when he went to Vietnam. Yeah. And the psychological effects that this war had. And I hate and love this film at the same time. He was so amazing to do it because, veterans go, oh, the Vietnam War and stuff, and American veterans are always, American veterans, and I think it's a great film, really well made, really raw and real, and I think everybody should watch it because it's good. And yeah, Platoon.
Nice.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever realised that had won Best Film, that movie.
Me neither. But I think it's a good film to win Best Movie.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
Good. A good choice, and I haven't seen it, so I can't talk about it. But strong decisions there. My number 2 film is a 2003 movie. Would have won the 2004 Best Picture Oscar, and it is Peter Jackson's The Lord of the Rings: The Return of the King.
Good choice.
Thank you.
I was tempted, but I didn't because it's not my favorite.
It's an odd one to pick because it's not necessarily my favourite film of those trilogy of Lord of the Rings movies, but also it's the only one that won Best Picture, and I think it was kind of recognised at the time that it was kind of, he was winning that award as a recognition of the entire trilogy being what it was, which was like a landmark moment in cinema, in blockbuster cinema. They'd gone off and they'd made this trilogy of movies all at the same time and put all this work and effort and dedication into it, and it had paid off by making 3 incredibly successful, massive films. And I love all 3 of them. I love The Lord of the Rings: The Return of the King. It's a great conclusion to the story, even though it concludes the story about 5 different times by the end. But it is fantastic. Peter Jackson does such a good job of taking a book that he clearly loves and adores and has a lot of appreciation for, and making it, it's quite an unwieldy fantasy book in a lot of ways. It's not. I've tried to read Lord of the Rings books in the past and struggled due to the amount of songs and poems and things. And
they're so full of stuff, aren't they? They're just so dense.
They really are. And he manages to craft a film and a trilogy of films that kept the fans of the books happy, I think, as far as I know, but also brought in people who hadn't read the books into that world and helped them to enjoy it and learn to love those characters and that story and that world. And just an incredible landmark moment in cinema, and was correctly awarded, at the Oscars. And it's fantastic. It's a pity that most subsequent Lord of the Rings based things haven't worked out quite as well, but we still have that original Peter Jackson trilogy, and who knows, maybe Amazon's Lord of the Rings series will end up being incredible. We'll have to wait and see.
That Peter Jackson as well again, or not?
No, it's not him at all.
Okay. What did we go and see together and I fell asleep?
We watched The Hobbit, The Desolation of Smaug.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I fell asleep. I don't fall asleep very often at the cinema. I did fall asleep at this.
Yeah. Because it was boring and bad. It was
so bad. I was very disappointed because I needed, like, after Harry Potter and after Lord of the Rings, you need some kind of like meaty fantasy things, because I cannot read fantasy books. You tried to make me read fantasy books. I just can't. It just not my thing. Apart from Philip Pullman, I do like him. I think he's like very kind of but I was hoping in The Hobbit, but that was bad.
Yeah.
Sorry, Peter. You did a good job with Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. I think that was where his heart lay as well, so I think he'll be happy with that. What's your number 2?
I'm going to be predictable with my next 2. I'm sorry. I tried my best and I just couldn't be different. And so my number 2 is 2020 picture winner, Parasite.
Oh, lovely. Good choice.
It's just so good. it's just good. And we've talked about it before. I think we put in a few lists this film.
Yeah, we've definitely talked about this film at length in the past.
So it's directed by Bong Joon-ho, and it's the first non-English language film that has won an Oscar, and it's basically a story about it's like a thriller horror story about 2 different sides of Korea, how they live and how these people infiltrate the house of these people from like lower class in Korea in the Seoul, infiltrate in this rich family. And I don't know if it's because I saw this clip the other day and I just remembered how horrific this film is. It's remember the scene where it rained a lot the night before in Seoul, and the mother of the rich family, she's like, oh, it rained a lot, but it cleared the smog. But in the meantime, the night before, it rained so much, and so in the basements where this poor family, the Kims, live, it's been flooded, and he smells of latrine because his his toilet had overflown. And just that scene is just so horrible, because it's just like, she's from the upper, actually the hills of Seoul, and they're talking about the fact that there's the good weather now, and then he's like driving the car and his flat has been destroyed and it's like full of shit because it's rained. And it's such a incredible film, and it's a kind of a horror, thriller, comedy. It's just perfect, and I love it. So it's a great film.
It is an amazing, incredible film. And my number 1 is similarly predictable because it's Parasite as well.
It's so good, isn't it?
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I absolutely love it. It's one of my favourite films now, I think, probably. And again, similar to The Silence of the Lambs and The Lord of the Rings, really, again, and I'm drawn to films like this in the Oscars. It's not a movie. Like, Bong Joon-ho wouldn't have been making Parasite thinking, I'm going to win Best Picture at the American Academy Awards for this film.
No.
But again, he just made such a good movie that just kind of hit in the right way, like hit in the right year. It's about an issue that that was kind of hitting at that point in, in our culture. The Rich Poor Divide, etc., which is huge in Korea, but also very pronounced in the
Everywhere.
UK and America and everywhere else. And it's fantastic and brilliant, and the actors are all incredible in it, and more than anything else, it's a really entertaining psychological thriller.
Yeah. Really
And
entertaining.
yeah, well done, Bong Joon-ho. I love all of his work. Again, similar to Guillermo del Toro, he makes brilliant movies all the time, and occasionally what he makes will line up with what the culture wants at that point in time. And Parasite is almost the ultimate example of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
What's your number one?
My number one, another very predictable choice. I've spoken about this film many times. I love it, and it's probably one of my favorite films of all time as well. And it's 2017 picture winner, Moonlight.
Yeah, fair play.
Yeah. I talked about it before, and it follows Chiron in his 3 time periods, which is young adolescence, mid-teen, and young adult, and it just follows him in his life and his finding out who he is, and it's amazing. The acting is incredible in it. Mahershala Ali as Juan, who's only in one third of his life, but still that one third of the film, he's amazing in it. And then there's Naomi Harris, which is the only actress she's in all 3 phases, and she's spectacular in it. And then Janelle Monáe, of course, beautiful, and the 3 actors that play the 3 different timelines, which are Trevante Rhodes, Alexar Hibbert, and Ashton Sanders. They have never met in the film, but they all managed to portray the same person in a beautiful way. It was just amazing, and it's beautiful, and I love this film. I just love it, and it just gets I think it's one of the best films ever made.
Fair play.
And it won Best Oscar with a bit of a controversy as well, because they read the wrong card.
Oh yeah, that was
embarrassing.
Yeah, well, yeah, for them.
Yeah, but when I see it now, I get this like secondhand embarrassment. Like, oh no, why did you do that? But yeah, it's a great film. Acted beautifully, beautiful color palette, beautiful everything, amazingly done. And I think, like you said, this film wasn't made as, oh, we're going to win an Oscar with this. It was just made, and it won an Oscar.
Very true. Whereas La La Land was probably made with very much the intention that it would be winning Oscars. Good. Yeah. Right. A good list. Do you want to go for your top 5? Or shall I go for my top 5? Yep. And then you can go for your top 5 again. Yep. So my top 5 Best Picture Oscar winners are Oliver at number 5, The Shape of Water at number 4, The Silence of the Lambs at number 3, The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King at number 2, and Parasite at number 1. What have you got?
So I've got Amadeus, and my number 5, Amadeus, number 4, Slumdog Millionaire, number 3, Platoon, number 2, Parasite, and number 1, Moonlight.
Nice. Okay, I've got some honourable mentions to just quickly go over. Films that didn't quite make my list but are brilliant. Obviously Moonlight, that you have on your list, is up there. And then No Country for Old Men, the Coen Brothers film, which I haven't watched in a long time, and that's the main reason it didn't make my list, because I couldn't quite remember. I don't know, I need to watch that film again. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest is obviously a huge, incredible film. Rocky, the original Rocky, another movie where it's incredible that it won the Best Picture at the Oscars.
Yeah, absolutely.
Rain Man, the Dustin Hoffman, Tom Cruise film. Probably quite problematic by today's standards, I would imagine, but I liked it when I was growing up. Schindler's List, which is we've talked about at length in the past, an incredible piece of work. Titanic is a film that a lot of people now don't like, but I have a big soft spot for. I think it's a great film. And Gladiator, I love Gladiator. It's a good film. Good, entertaining, epic, historical fiction drama thing. I also have a handful, we don't normally do this, of dishonourable mentions, films that it annoys me that they won Best Picture at the Oscars. Okay. So I'll run through them quickly. I don't like to be too negative, but Forrest Gump.
What?
No. Bad film.
What? Okay.
Yeah. But bear in mind, Forrest Gump was the same year as Pulp Fiction. I mean, which film should have won Best Picture?
Pulp Fiction, absolutely.
There we go. Braveheart. The most historically inaccurate movie of all time.
I know, but it was fun. Freedom! It was fun to watch, though, no?
Yeah. Shakespeare in Love.
That should have not won. And the
ridiculous.
fact that Judi Dench won Best Supporting Actress, and she was in there for like 2 minutes. Time.
Yeah, ridiculous.
That was offensive. That was offensive. I like Shakespeare in Love. I did like Shakespeare in Love. I thought it was fun. But shouldn't have won
Shakespeare in Love.
Yeah.
No. Shakespeare in Love winning Best Picture and Judi Dench winning Best Supporting Actress for 5 minutes of screen time are all part of the legacy of Harvey Weinstein and the way he ran the Oscars like a sort of... He ran them like a revenue stream. He picked movies to push for Oscars and then would campaign for them to win Oscars, and then they would see a bump in ticket sales, and it was like a separate way of running the movie industry for him.
I didn't
obviously,
know that.
The lesser of his crimes, but still... Not happy with that. And again, Shakespeare in Love was the same year as Saving Private Ryan, which I think is, by any standards, a better film. A Beautiful Mind. Biopics always do very well at the Oscars, and this biopic in particular is so inaccurate about its the person it's portraying that I can't stand it. Crash.
I haven't
stupid film. The Hurt Locker is a film that I just couldn't get into, but I don't have too much to say about it. But I didn't like it. And the worst one of all, the film I cannot stand and hate with a passion, The King's Speech. Get out of here with The King's Speech. No interest in that movie. Say that again?
What's wrong with The King's Speech?
It's about the king, for one thing. No, thank you. Not interested in that. And it's almost the ultimate example of the opposite of what I was saying I like about it is when that movie was made entirely expectantly waiting for the Oscars to be given to it. And it's directed like a TV movie. It's got no flair to it. Nothing's interesting in it. Nothing about the way it's been made is interesting. It's just two very competent actors delivering their lines, well... But there's no art. There's no artistry behind the scenes, in my opinion, with that film. I can't stand it. I hate it. So there we go. And again, I think similar to A Beautiful Mind and other movies, it's just so far removed from the reality of what that situation was like. That like if you're watching it to learn about that member of the royal family and his struggles with his stammer, you're not getting a true picture of it. And why are you watching it for any other reason? Because it's not an interesting or entertaining story. I can't stand it. Do you have any honourable mentions?
So I've put The Sound of Music, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Gandhi. Have you ever seen the film Gandhi?
No.
Ben Kingsley being Gandhi?
Yeah.
Schindler's List, Nomadland, Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King. And this one maybe it was controversial, but I really liked it. And I'm not sure if it portrays... I've seen it years ago, and I'm not sure if it portrays Native Americans in it might be a little bit controversial now. It doesn't portray Native Americans in a bad way, but maybe there are some. But Kevin Costner's Dances with Wolves.
Okay.
I love that film.
I've never seen it, so I can't comment.
It was I've seen it about 65 times when I was a kid. I was obsessed with that film. I know way too much of that film. And of course, it's probably like the white saving, the white savior. However, I have some fond memories and learning, I don't know. I thought it was fun. So, yeah, maybe it's a bit controversial, but I don't know. Yeah.
Fair play to you. Good list. Okay,
Yeah.
I guess we've got some homework to assign.
Yes.
So, for my top 5, you haven't seen Oliver or The Shape of Water.
I would like to see The Shape of Water.
Okay, good.
And
Watch
from
The
my
Shape
list,
of Water and get back to me.
you haven't seen Amadeus, Platoon, and that's it.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Which one should I watch?
Do you like war films? Do you like Oliver Stone?
I don't. I like Oliver Stone, and I don't mind war films. But
I think well, because Amadeus is like, I think is really, really long, Amadeus.
it's
And I'm
2
not
hours
sure.
and 40
Like, I love
minutes long.
opera, and I find it like I sing all the songs and when I watch it, and I just love it. But I'm not sure if you might enjoy it.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because there's Amadeus, which is 2 hours and 40 minutes long.
Yeah.
But might be quite a fun time.
Yeah.
And then there's Platoon, which is
Yeah.
just a short 2 hours long.
Mm-hmm.
But based on current world events, do I want to sit down and watch a war film for 2 hours at the moment? I don't know if I do. So that's quite a...
It's a bit of a pickle,
interesting
isn't it? Because
predicament.
Amadeus is like long.
Yeah.
But it's very colourful, and there's a lot of music in it, and there's a lot of like eating and getting drunk and partying and
I'm
then
gonna go
there's-
Amadeus. I'm
Okay.
gonna take the hit and do Amadeus and put up with the 2 hours and 40 minutes of Amadeus.
Okay.
Not put up with. I'm sure I'll really enjoy it. And I know I should watch Platoon, and I will watch Platoon one day. And the message of Platoon is one that I'm sure I agree with wholeheartedly.
But
And,
like I felt physically sick when I watched Platoon, like physically, emotionally sick. So
I feel physically, emotionally sick all the time. So let's not push
so maybe
that.
maybe
any
just
further.
watch Amadeus. There's some nice times in Amadeus.
Good. Okay, that's fantastic. So we've got our homework. Right, I've got a recommendation based on Culture Catch Up. The Batman.
Batman.
Watch the Batman. Do you have a recommendation?
Watch Batman. I would like, if you can, listen to the album, Mitski album, Laurel Hell, and Encanto, the soundtrack.
Well, yeah, watch Encanto in preparation for next week's special
Yeah.
on Encanto.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you probably have gathered if I liked it or not.
Yes.
From today.
So that's a recommendation from me to watch the Batman, and from Alex also to watch the Batman. Everyone should watch
Yeah.
the Batman. That's the only thing that's worth doing. Watch the Batman.
Watch the Batman.
The Batman. I'm gonna go and watch the Batman again today. I think after we finish recording.
Oh, really?
Yeah. No, and Mitski's album Laurel Hell. You can listen to that in the car or on the bus on the way to see the Batman if you'd like to. And what was your recommendation? Oh, Encanto. Yeah. When you get back from the Batman and you're feeling a bit grim and rainy, then put Encanto on. But go and see the Batman first. Oh, the Batman. Next week, please come back and join us again for our special episode on Encanto, which is part of our Oscar season, as it's nominated for Best Animated Film at this year's Academy Awards. And yeah, that's going to be... we've already recorded it, as Alex mentioned earlier, so that's going to be a really fun listen. Please do come back for that. And please go and find us on all the social media channels, which you can find linked to in the show notes for this and every episode, along with links to the culture discussed in Culture Catch-Up and the YouTube videos we watch in MyTube, if you'd like to watch along. And please rate and review us on your podcast app of choice, be it Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere else that you can rate and review us, and tell your friends to listen to us and help us grow. Thank you so much. And see you again soon. It's been a wonderful day. Thank you. Love
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Love you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.